Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Emily Enenuevo. Have you ever felt like your life was in a rut? You don't know where to start to get your life back on track. Well, tonight we are digging deep and getting advice on how to turn your life around when it comes to your mental and physical health. Joining me tonight is life coach Sandra Elia. Welcome to the show. Welcome to In the Know.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here this evening.
Yes, we've been talking so much about what we're gonna, cover in this hour. It's jam-packed. Yes. So first and foremost, if you can tell viewers, Sandra, how you got into this business of life coaching, because it really was a journey for you.
It was, and this journey began back in 2001, and so it came from a very dark, sad, rock bottom place in my life, and the rebuilding of my life was really the catalyst to becoming a life coach. Yeah. So if I take you back to that time, I was well over 100 pounds heavier than I am today, and I think that we have a picture of that for the viewers.
You actually brought a before picture.
Yes.
It's up right now.
Yeah, so there I am.
Your heaviest.
You know what? I had lost 10 pounds in that picture. So it wasn't quite my heaviest. I also have a dress here that I wore during that time.
I'll help you hold it up here. And it's a visual to show.
Just to show the girth, this is the representation of the pain, because the weight to me was pain that I carried with me each and every day. My life at that time was completely out of control. I was clinically depressed. I was in a marriage that was bad for me. I was taking care of my mother, who was manic depressive with no boundaries, and I was on an extended sick leave from work. It was just such a time in my life that lacked joy and light. And what I was doing was using food. I was using food as a sense of comfort and strength and as a coping mechanism. And of course, it left me incredibly empty. It turned into a drug that I used as a crutch to get through my days. The food was the absolute drug in my life. My whole body just ached from the pain that I carried. And 2 years prior, I had gone on a fad diet and I had lost 50 pounds and I was feeling really good.
I mean, this is a significant
Yeah,
amount.
it was, and I was thinking, I licked it. I found the magic diet. I licked it. This problem's over. Yeah. And then I proceeded to gain 100 pounds back. And
so it was back and forth.
It was back and forth, but this one was significant because I gained 100 pounds in a year. So I could feel the stretch marks coming in, and I had chronic lower back pain. I couldn't move easily anymore, and I started to isolate. I isolated from the world, from my friends, and my world just became smaller and smaller. So it was, in today's society, we really value people who are thin. And so my worth was wrapped up in my size. And the bigger I got, the less I was worth. But from this very low point...
I mean, it is very overwhelming to hear that story.
Oh, it is.
Because you sit here, you're beautiful, you're, like we were discussing before, you're in shape now. So how did you get out of it? Who got you out of it?
So there was no particular who, but it was a process. So I went from being obese to running a half marathon. And that was just the external change, because there was a lot that was going on inside of me. I had to honestly appraise my life. Was I in a relationship that nurtured me and enhanced me? Was I in a career that inspired me? What were the thoughts that went through my head and ultimately dictated my life? Did I have healthy boundaries with work? And a really significant question was, what was my connection like with God, or the universe, if you will? So I'll take you through my journey. I really
how long did that take you to actually sit down and, I mean, those are great questions to ask yourself, but actually sit down and be like, this is what I have to do. What are the answers to this question? To these questions?
And you have to take it day by day. So, first of all, I didn't set, a goal that I had to lose so much weight by a certain amount of time, because that never worked for me.
That didn't.
No, I really wanted to address the missing keys, which was the mind and the spirit for me. And it took a long time. The weight probably took 1.5 years to come off originally. And then, I had a little bit of a blip in the screen when I got pregnant and trying to get back to pre-pregnancy. That took a while for me as well, because this is an area of struggle for me. But in the mind, I knew that I had to start moving my body, and I had to really give it proper nutrition. Exercise for me came from a very humble place. I could only walk 15 minutes. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. At that
weight.
weight, 15 minutes turned into 30 minutes, and that walk turned into a jog, and that jog turned into 21 kilometers, and so forth.
Half marathon,
and then the half marathon, which was a huge accomplishment. And with food, I didn't have another diet in me. Honest to God, I couldn't do it again.
But then how did you make that switch? Because you hear these stories, and number one, you can lose the weight, but how do you keep it off? Number two, how do you just change your eating habits if you're so used to eating those foods that make you feel comfortable? What was it for you?
Exactly. So for me, in the simplest form, flour and sugar, two very addictive substances. And so I had to keep it really simple. For me, I started with eliminating trigger foods. Foods that once I started eating them was going to lead to binging, and I just wouldn't be able to stop.
Those two?
Just those two. So anything, and that's really evolved over time.
Yeah.
They're huge.
They're in everything.
Everything. Yeah, and I didn't start off perfectly. It's something that over time really evolved, and then the portion sizes evolved. So, you know, I stopped wishing for that magical day when everything was just going to be different. I would just wake up and everything would be perfect. I let go of that. And the next thing, I looked at my mind, and I really had some negative tapes that I played in my mind. Sometimes we're not
Doesn't everybody, though?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and you're not even aware of it sometimes. Sometimes
it's true.
You'll get a cue, you'll make a mistake at work, and then starts, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough.
Taking it personally, letting it eat inside of you, yeah.
It really does its damage. And so I had to develop some new mental tapes, and they didn't feel comfortable at first, I have to be honest. But the truth is, those other negative tapes were lies that I told myself that really shaped my life, and over time they ingrained themselves in me and manifested. Well, these new tapes could have the same effect if I just gave them a chance, like fake it till you make it. And my favorite tape was, my life is filled with blessings and miracles. And I would say that over and over. Anytime the negative one would start, I'd flip to, my life is filled with blessings and miracles. And I can tell you today that's an absolute true statement.
I mean, like you said, though, uncomfortable at first, because people, it's not natural for them to praise themselves or to, you know, live by a certain mantra, you know, and really to stick to it. So was it just, it took time?
It took time and repetition, and just like the old stuff, the new stuff took hold and took root and became true for me in my life. And then lastly, it was the spirit. And I believe I became a compulsive overeater because I was so misaligned with my soul's purpose. And when I'm that misaligned from it, there's a lot of pain. And so I needed something to anesthetize that pain, and for me, that was food. So we just have about a minute left, but I mean, how are you doing now? Great.
Yes.
Fantastic. But it's a daily commitment to this new way of life. I spend time on all three areas: the body, the mind, the spirit. For me, the spirit means choosing something other than food for comfort.
I mean, it's a great valid point. Yes. Yeah. So when we come back, more about your story, more about what life coaching is. Stay tuned. More on the In the Know after the break.
I've touched my
You look
chest
like
a
Bill
few times.
O'Reilly.
Is that okay?
Well,
You're
Okay.
tell us what it is.
Okay.
Welcome back to In the Know. Tonight's topic is all about living your best life. I'm here with life coach Sandra Elia. And Sandra, we were talking about your incredible journey, really, in the first segment. You've gone through a lot, but we're here today to talk about how you improved and how you can help others in terms of, improving their best, physical and mental health, right?
Yeah.
So let's take it to the beginning. What is a life coach? Because you do hear it all the time.
Absolutely.
There are many life coaches out there.
For sure.
What is your main purpose as a life coach?
So, you know what? Life coaching for me has two main purposes. One, it's all about the client. It's all about their agenda and achieving their goals. Their goals could be balance in health. It could be weight loss, career transition, overcoming addiction. It covers all areas of life, and that's why we have this wheel of life.
Beautiful wheel of life that will
go through later on into the segment. But the two main objectives you asked, one is to gain a deeper understanding of yourself, and second is to achieve your goals. And so the way that I help my clients develop a deeper understanding of themselves is I really strive to be a mirror to them, a mirror to their passions, their values, obstacles, weaknesses. And it's my job. I believe that you cannot change what you do not accept. So I try to illuminate the truth. What is the truth in your life, and how have those truths shaped your life for the better or for the worse? It's a real impactful way to look at yourself. Next, having this newfound knowledge of yourself really paves the way to achieving your goals.
Right.
And so what I do is every session I gently push my clients outside of their comfort zone, and I keep them accountable along the path to achieving their goals.
That seems like it's the key, right? Because everybody makes those goals, especially at the start of the new year. We have a long checklist of what we want to do, but it's sticking to them, right? Being accountable for them.
For someone, and having that champion and cheerleader there to help you along the way is amazing, because dreams are being fulfilled that once seemed impossible, and it's such an honor for me to be witness to that. Some people will sometimes confuse life coaching with therapy, and they're very different. I'm just going to spend a moment talking about that.
Great point.
Therapy, sometimes there's an assumption that there's actually something wrong. And in my practice, I believe that my clients are naturally resourceful, creative, and whole. And it's my job to hold that space so that they can flourish into the most magnificent self. Life coaching is very future focused, whereas therapy can tend to look more into the past. With coaching, you can set up the schedule any way you like. So a lot of my busy executive clients, I need to meet them at the office, or we'll meet at the gym and do double duty. We'll do a workout and then we'll have a coaching session. And I find with coaching, it's very action oriented. So I have a whole toolkit of exercises that I bring with me when I see clients. And one of my favorites is a vision board. Yes. And I think we've brought examples.
You've actually brought examples, yes.
Of ones. And
now you've heard of these before, and what is it exactly?
So it's interesting. People always balk at vision boards and think, well, this is silly. And my response to that is, an architect will sit down and draw out a house before it's there, and no one comes and looks at his plan and says, well, there's no house there. Why do you?
That's true.
So this is drawing what you want for your life. So my client here has done a vision board, and I heard there's a great app on the iPad to do this very easily. But this is, all about love and relationship, and she has images and words that are so significant to her that arouse things in her and really push her forward.
Are these future goals? Are these images of future goals or things that are important to her now?
I would say they're a bit of both. What's important to her and what she's striving for, but it's a vision, so it's looking out, or a dream board into what you want.
And the next one?
And the next one, so she goes the extra mile and she superimposes her face on images, so that's why you're seeing a little
and
smiley.
It's a happy face, right?
Yeah, so I've protected her anonymity here. Yes. But here it's all about success and climbing the ladder and where she wants